I'm Millie Mullins, and straight ahead, I'll tell you who could be right around the corner.
I'm Marissa Matola. Is the tuna you're eating really tuna? Coming up next, I'll tell you how to tell the difference.
Taking your driver's test may not be the only test you have to take. I'm Diane Genti, and coming up next on WVU News, I'll tell you how some lawmakers in Charleston are putting the brakes on teen driving. Our award-winning newscast, WVU News, starts now.
Next door, around the corner, or down the street. Sexual predators can be anywhere. Find out which new technology can locate these offenders. I'm Ashley Sturm.
And I'm Marissa Matola. See how an increase in teen drug use could affect the driver's permit process in West Virginia. You're watching WVU News, an award-winning newscast produced by television journalism students right here at West Virginia University.
There are more than 4,000 sex offenders living in West Virginia.
And over 5% of those offenders, Ashley, will strike again. Crime reporter Millie Mullins has more in an app that will help protect your children. Millie?
Thanks, Ashley and Marissa. And did you know a convicted sex offender given an 8-year sentence could be back on the streets in as little as 3 years? The typical pedophile commits an average of 300 sexual crimes during their lifetime, and that's why you should know where they live in your neighborhood. I recently found an app that allows parents to see just how close the threat really is. The lives of children often involve games and school, but something children may not know is how to keep themselves safe from a sexual predator. Morgantown parent Lisa Verlinden shares her reaction to looking online for registered sex offenders.
It was freaky, and I didn't see anyone in my surrounding area with where we lived adjacent to us anywhere, but I had to get off because that was something that it freaks me out.
It's estimated that about 300,000 children are abused every day in the United States, but many cases of child abuse go unreported. Police say it's important to warn kids and give them tips to guard themselves against sexual predators.
Talk with the children, make them aware of what to look out for.
In the Monongalia County area, there are currently over 50 registered sex offenders that are labeled online. To see where registered sex offenders are located near you, you can use your smartphone to download an app like this one called Sex Offenders to see where registered sex offenders are located near you. According to experts, about 60% of sexual abuse perpetrators are someone the child knows. As a parent, Verlinden explains that she couldn't imagine her children being abused.
The stress and the angst that you feel for the people it does affect is enough that I can't imagine what it would do if it hit home.
Sexual abuse can happen to anyone, and it's important to talk with children to keep them aware and willing to come forward if abuse takes place. And if you don't have a smartphone to download the app, the West Virginia State Police offer an online sex offender registry. You can look up their area by following the link at the bottom of your screen. Ashley, back to you.
Thanks, Millie. It's important to educate your children not only about predators, but also about drug use. West Virginia lawmakers have proposed a new bill that will make roads safer for young drivers by keeping those who abuse drugs off the roads. Government reporter Diane Genti took a trip to Charleston to learn more.
Lawmakers in Charleston think there's a major problem going on with youth in the state.
Being a retired school educator, administrator, teacher, drugs are just wreaking havoc on our students.
This prompted a bill proposed on the House floor that, if passed, would have teens drug tested before being able to apply for a permit or driver's license. But not everyone thinks it's a good idea.
By drug testing everybody every time they apply for anything, it seems to be the craze, and I'm not so sure I support that.
Even though some lawmakers are unsure the bill will pass, the reality for young drivers is that at least 17% of 18 to 20-year-olds admit to drinking heavily or using drugs while driving in the last year. Senator Roman Prezioso says the solution may not be drug testing, but drug treatment.
I think we need more money directed at educational programs for our youth to be able to teach them and educate them on the hazards of drug use. I would probably emphasize more money in that aspect than I would for a drug test for driver's license.
So far, the bill has 11 sponsors in the House of Delegates, and it's making its way to the Transportation Committee. Diane Genti, WVU News, Charleston.
Drug testing has been a hot topic in Charleston. Last April, Governor Earl Ray Tomblin signed an executive order mandating drug testing for anyone in government-funded job training programs.
Another hot topic in politics is President Barack Obama's State of the Union promise to increase minimum wage. The plan has workers across the country more than excited, while many economists are left shaking their heads. There are 15 million low-income workers in the U.S., and President Obama's recent plan to raise the minimum wage to $9 an hour has many workers ready for change. The increase would account for an additional $4,000 a year to those who depend on it, although economists warn that increasing the minimum wage will only make finding a job more difficult for unskilled workers. If the proposal is passed by Congress, the increase could be seen by 2015. The minimum wage increase would have a large impact on college students who depend on low-income jobs while at school.
You're right, Marissa. And college-age voters proved to be a deciding factor in the 2012 election with 11% of the total vote. That's the highest youth voter turnout in U.S. history. But campus reporter Brian Popkin is here in the studio to explain why voter turnout for student government also reached a record high.
Thanks, Marissa and Ashley. Corruption has plagued past student government elections, but this year, the party and the revolution battled it out as SGA reclaimed its reputation and saw the largest voting numbers in years. Hundreds of WVU students came together in the mountain lair recently to watch the party and the revolution go head-to-head in the WVU student government debate. SGA co-election chair Allison Rollins helped organize the event.
If we can do something that's fair and something that's right and something that still brings out a big part of the student body, then I think we've accomplished our goal, and hopefully that in turn increases voter turnout.
Candidates got a chance to state their case and present their party's platforms. Revolution Vice President Ben Seaball says the SGA is making strides for the students.
The purpose of student government is to be able to provide an outlet for students to create positive change throughout the university.
In past years, the voter turnout hovered between 4% and 10%, but this year, the number of total votes doubled after the second day of voting. Both parties spent roughly $14,000 on promotional materials. Board of Governors candidate Dan Harris thinks encouraging student involvement is important.
We need these organizations. It gives kids stuff to do that keeps them involved in the university, gives them a sense of pride.
According to an official summary report, the revolution swept the election, locking up over 60% of the vote. After 3 days of voting, the Revolution candidates Ryan Campione and Ben Seaball were elected as president and vice president. Vacant seats on the Board of Governors were filled by Revolution members as well. The Revolution ran on a full transparency platform that includes disclosing all SGA expenses in the future. Ashley and Marissa, back to you.
While SGA strives to reveal more, recent reports show that the fish industry has something to hide.
And Ashley, Americans eat an average of 500 million pounds of seafood a year. I recently took a closer look at a study that suggests you may not know what fish you're really eating. We constantly hear experts telling us fish is filled with beneficial omega-3 acids, minerals, and proteins. But a new study reveals the tuna in your favorite sushi roll is most likely a cheaper alternative, making consumers like Taylor Pond scared.
Personally, I wouldn't be able to tell between two different kinds of fish.
Experts say 1/3 of the fish we eat actually isn't what it's supposed to be. 84% of white tuna was actually a cheaper fish, escolar, that cause unpleasant side effects that can even make you sick. Fishmonger Marty Biafora has been in the industry for over 30 years and says Google may be your best tool.
Knowledge is important, information. So if you're going to buy a fish that you haven't purchased or haven't eaten before or handled, then get on the internet, find what the characteristics of it are.
Some characteristics you should look for when buying fish are bright pink or red gills, clear eyes, firm flesh, and it should smell like an ocean breeze. These days, 90% of the seafood we eat in this country is imported, and only 2% is inspected. Price can also be a good indicator. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Due to the study, the FDA is coming together to figure out a tracking system where you will be able to find out where, when, and exactly how your seafood is caught. It's scary to think you don't always know what you're eating. I may be skipping sushi for a while.
Me too, Marissa. But one thing I won't be skipping is the announcement of the new Mountaineer. Coming up on WVU Sports, reporter Alyssa Castellino shows us why being able to grow a beard may not matter this year.
I'm Alyssa Castellino, and straight ahead on WVU Sports, I'll tell you about a group of people who are battling it out to become the new face of West Virginia University.
Our hearts beat in the face of challenge, for without it, there is nothing. No character, no grit, no goals. Without challenge, there can be nothing. No discovery, no knowledge, no cures. For us, the challenge is everything. Without it, there can be no Mountaineers.
Well, the end of the basketball season marks the next campaign for the new Mountaineer.
Sports anchor Adam Crowley is with us now to tell us more. Adam?
Thanks, Ashley and Marissa. In the 79-year history of the Mountaineer mascot, only 2 women have worn the buckskins. Natalie Tennant served as the first female Mountaineer in 1990 and Rebecca Durst as the second 19 years later in 2009. Sports reporter Alyssa Castellino explains why the history of one of West Virginia's most recognized symbols may be about to change.
Since 1934, the Mountaineer has been the official mascot of West Virginia University. There have been 62 mascots in total, and only 2 have been female. Junior Darren Vueslick believes she should be the third.
Why can't a girl be a Mountaineer? I told him in my interview, I'm strong, I might not look like it, you know, I can be just as spirited, maybe even louder than those guys. And I don't think being a girl's never held me back from anything before. Why should it hold me back from this?
One of this year's finalists is Jonathan Kimball, WVU's current Mountaineer. He says that the job wasn't easy to get, but now that he's recognized as the mascot, he'd love to be picked again.
I've had a great experience this last year. I've been able to work well with the maniacs and different themes, and I love to be the Mountaineer. And I think I'll do even a better job next year as a Mountaineer.
After filling out an application, the Mountaineer Honorary Society chooses 10 applicants. Those 10 go on to do an interview, and the final 4 selected get to try out at a WVU basketball game.
It's come down to the final 4, 3 males and 1 female. Vueslick was the only girl overall that applied this season. Though the list of mascots includes 60 men, the public relations major decided it was worth a shot.
All I can think is I'll never know if I never try. And what a great opportunity to represent my school and my state that I love so much. What more of a PR job could I want?
The winner will be announced March 9th at the men's basketball game against Iowa State. Alyssa Castellino, WVU Sports, Morgantown.
The next Mountaineer will be announced at halftime of the last men's basketball home game. The final 4 Mountaineer candidates will have the first half to show off their mascot skills to the crowd. Typically, the Mountaineer dons the coonskin hat, the large rifle, and a long beard. But this time, the beard is not required.
Thanks, Adam. All the candidates this year really look like they could be the next Mountaineer.
I agree, Ashley. I'm excited to see who the selection committee picks at the final home game.
Well, that's all we have for you on this week's edition of WVU News. You can visit us online at our website.
You can also watch any of our shows on YouTube. And please follow us and our reporters on Twitter. I'm Marissa Matola.
And I'm Ashley Sturm. Thanks for watching WVU News. We'll see you next week.